She said, "Your friends are dragging you down. I'm blocking them from contacting you for your own good." She'd blocked my 15-year friendships from my phone without telling me. I said, "You're looking out for me." Then I handed her a box of her things and said, "And I'm looking out for me, too." When her therapist called and asked if she was okay. Original post. 32 male, just ended a 2-year relationship in about 11 minutes. And honestly, the longest part was waiting for her to put her shoes on. Some background. I've had the same core friend group since high school. For guys, we met freshman year, survived group projects, bad haircuts, worse girlfriends, and an ill-advised road trip in 2014 that nearly killed us but technically brought us closer. These are my people. 15 years deep. We do a standing Thursday night thing. Used to be basketball at the rec center. Now it's mostly sitting around someone's living room eating wings and arguing about whether the Lions will ever win anything meaningful. We're in our 30s now. The knees went first, then the ambition. My girlfriend moved in with me 8 months ago. At first, things were solid. She got along with my friends, or at least she pretended to. She'd sit with us on Thursdays sometimes, laughed at the jokes, even brought homemade guac once, which was genuinely incredible and earned her a lot of goodwill. But about 4 months in, things shifted. She started making comments. "Don't you think it's a little immature that you guys still hang out every single week? Your buddy talks about fantasy football like it's a job. It's kind of sad. I feel like you act different around them. Like a teenager." I brushed it off. Figured she just needed to adjust to the rhythm. But the comments got more frequent and more specific. She didn't like that my best friend since freshman year called me late sometimes when he'd had a rough day at work. She didn't like that another friend would text group memes at midnight. She especially didn't like that the group chat was active during our quality time, which apparently meant any time we were in the same room. I started silencing the group chat at night to keep the peace. Put my phone on D&D during dinners. Skipped a couple Thursdays. Small concessions that felt reasonable at the time, but were actually the first bricks in a wall she was building around me. 3 weeks ago, my best friend showed up at my job, my workplace. He'd driven 20 minutes to find me because, and I swear I'm not being dramatic, he thought something had happened to me. "Dude, are you alive?" he said. "Yeah? What? I've texted you like 30 times in the past 2 weeks. Called you. Nothing. You're not in the group chat anymore. The other guys are worried. We thought maybe you were sick or something happened." I pulled out my phone to prove him wrong. Opened my messages. His entire text thread was gone. Not just unread, gone. No conversation history. Nothing. I checked the group chat. I'd been removed. I checked my call log. His number had been blocked. I checked the other 3 friends. All blocked. Every single one. And not just blocked. She'd gone in my messages, deleted entire conversation threads, and then blocked the numbers. Thorough. Methodical. Like she'd watched a tutorial. I stood there in the parking lot of my job, holding my phone like it was evidence at a crime scene. Because it was. "How long have you been trying to reach me?" I asked. "Almost 3 weeks. We all have. 3 weeks. My 4 closest friends, guys I've known since I was 17, have been trying to reach me for 3 weeks, and I had no idea because my girlfriend went in my phone and surgically removed them from my life." I drove home. She was on the couch watching a cooking show. Normal Tuesday energy. Glass of white wine. Hair up. Cozy. "Hey, babe," she said without looking up. "Can I see your phone for a second?" She looked at me. "What? Just want to check something? That's weird." "No." "Okay. Can you explain why every one of my friends has been blocked on my phone and their message threads are deleted?" The cooking show was suddenly very interesting to her. She stared at it for a solid 5 seconds before muting it and turning to face me. And then, and this is the part that still makes my jaw clench, she didn't even deny it. She didn't stammer or act surprised. She sat up straight, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, "Your friends are dragging you down. I blocked them for your own good. For my own good." Like she was confiscating scissors from a toddler. Like my 15-year friendships were a safety hazard. They're immature. They keep you stuck in this man-child phase. Every Thursday you come home smelling like hot sauce and talking about things that don't matter. I need a partner who's growing, not someone who's reliving high school every week. I let her finish. I stayed calm. Not movie calm, where the guy is secretly seething and about to flip a table. Genuinely calm. Because as she was talking, I was already done. The relationship ended somewhere between your own good and man-child phase. I was just waiting for her to stop talking so I could start packing. "You're looking out for me," I said. "I hear you." She smiled. Actually smiled. Like she'd won. "I knew you'd understand eventually. It's for the best. You'll see." "Yeah," I said. "And I'm looking out for me, too." I went to the bedroom, pulled the box I'd been using for winter storage out of the closet, dumped the sweaters on the bed, went back to the living room and started putting her things in it. Makeup bag from the bathroom, the jar of fancy hand cream she kept by the couch, her laptop charger, her book from the nightstand. She watched me for about 10 seconds before the smile disappeared. "What are you doing?" "Packing your stuff." "Why?" "Because you decided, without asking me, to cut off the 4 most important people in my life outside of my family. You went through my phone, blocked them, deleted our conversations, and then sat here for 3 weeks watching me not hear from my best friends and didn't say a single word. That's not looking out for me. That's controlling me. You're overreacting. I'm reacting exactly the right amount. You need to call someone to come get you tonight." She started crying. Real tears. I believe they were real. But real tears, after a calculated 3-week campaign of isolation, don't carry the same weight. You don't get to engineer a situation and then cry about the consequences. She called her sister. Her sister picked her up an hour later. Gave me a look on the way out like I just set a kitten on fire. I'm sure she'd only heard one side. I unblocked all 4 of my friends that night. Call my best friend first. He picked up on the second ring. "Bro, what happened?" I told him everything. Long pause. Then, she deleted our whole text history. We had years of stuff in there. Gone. The video of me falling off that go-kart. Gone. That's unforgivable. He wasn't wrong. I'll update when there's more. She left some bigger things at the apartment, clothes, a hairdryer, some books, and I told her she could pick them up this weekend. I have a feeling this isn't over. Update 1, 5 days later. So, the pickup did not go smoothly. She came Saturday morning. I'd boxed up everything of hers I could find and left it stacked neatly by the door. 3 boxes. I even bubble-wrapped the framed photo of her niece she kept on the bookshelf because I'm petty about breakups, but not about other people's property. She brought her sister again, and her sister brought attitude. I opened the door. My ex walked in, looked at the boxes, and immediately said, "You moved fast. Almost like you'd been waiting for an excuse." Didn't need an excuse. You gave me a reason. Her sister was standing behind her with crossed arms. "You know this is really messed up, right?" Kicking her out over a misunderstanding. Blocking 4 phone numbers, deleting years of message history, and hiding it for 3 weeks isn't a misunderstanding. It's a campaign. She was trying to help you. Your friends are a bad influence. You met my friends once. At a barbecue. One of them brought you a plate because you were sitting alone. That's the bad influence we're talking about. The sister didn't have a comeback for that one. My ex started going through the boxes, checking things off like she had a mental inventory. Then she looked up and said, "Where's the Dyson?" The hairdryer. The $400 Dyson Airwrap she'd bought about 5 months ago. "In the bathroom. It's in box 2. "No, not the attachment head. The full unit. "I don't see it in here." I'd packed it. I knew I had because I specifically remembered wrapping the cord around it and putting it on top of her clothes. But when she opened box 2, it wasn't there. I went to the bathroom to check. Not there either. Turns out, and I verified this later, I had packed it, but her sister had already slipped it out of the box and into her own bag while I was talking to my ex. I didn't realize this until after they left, and I was reviewing the doorbell camera footage I'd installed 2 months ago for package theft. Clear as day. The sister opened box 2, pulled out the Dyson, dropped it in her purse, and then my ex made a point of asking me about it, so I'd look like either a liar or an idiot. They coordinated that. In my own apartment. While picking up boxes I'd carefully packed for them. I texted my ex, saw the doorbell footage. "Your sister took the Dyson out of the box. I'd like it returned since it was a gift I bought for you while you lived here, and you just stole it from your own packing box to make me look bad." Wait, I need to correct myself. I didn't buy the Dyson. She bought it. With her own money. So technically, yeah, it was hers. But the move, the coordinated fake out where the sister palms it, and then my ex asks me, where it is to make me look like I was keeping her stuff. That's what made me see red. It wasn't about the hairdryer. It was about the fact that even while picking up her belongings, she was still running plays. Still trying to make me the villain. Her response to my text, "I don't know what you're talking about. And it's creepy that you're filming me. That feels like surveillance." Surveillance. I have a Ring doorbell. Like half the country. But sure, I'm running a surveillance operation for my 2-bedroom apartment. I didn't engage. Let go. The Dyson was never the point. But here's where things escalated in a way I didn't see coming. Over the next few days, I started getting messages from people I hadn't heard from in a while. Her friends, a couple from her work, even a woman from her book club who I'd met exactly once. All of them reaching out to say some version of, "I heard what happened. Are you okay?" Because she's telling everyone you were emotionally distant and that you chose your friends over her. And when she tried to talk to you about it, you kicked her out on the street with no warning. That was her narrative. Not the phone blocking. Not the deleted messages. Not the 3-week isolation. Just, he chose his friends over me and threw me out. And here's the thing about that kind of story. It's technically adjacent to the truth. Like if truth was a building, her version is standing across the street, taking a selfie with it in the background. There are facts in there. I did end things. My friends were a factor. But the framing removes every single thing she did and makes her the victim of a guy who just didn't prioritize her. I wasn't going to go on a PR campaign. That's not me. But when her book club woman texted me, I replied once, clearly, "I appreciate you reaching out." She went into my phone, blocked all 4 of my closest friends without my knowledge, deleted years of messages, and hid it from me for 3 weeks. I ended the relationship because of that. I wish her well, but the story she's telling is missing some significant context. That's all I said. Once. To one person. It got back to my ex within hours. She texted me, "You're telling people my private business? That's disgusting. Your private business?" You went into MY phone. Those were MY contacts. My messages. My friendships. The only private thing here is the PIN code you apparently cracked. I didn't reply. Then came the move I genuinely didn't expect. And it involves her therapist. Buckle up. Update 2, 9 days later. I need to preface this by saying I have nothing against therapy. I think everyone should go. My ex had been seeing a therapist for about a year before we even met, and I always respected that. She'd go every other Wednesday and come home in a reflective mood. Good for her. Mental health matters. But 4 days after the pickup incident, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer because I'd been dodging her sister's calls all week. The sister had called me 3 times to tell me I was making a huge mistake and that I wouldn't find anyone who tolerates your lifestyle. My lifestyle being having friends. But I picked up. "Hi, this is a woman's name. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm calling because I work with your ex-girlfriend and she's asked me to reach out to you. She's been in a very difficult place emotionally, and I just want to check. Is she okay? She hasn't been responding to my appointment confirmations." I paused. A few things landed at once. First, my ex told her therapist enough about me that the therapist had my phone number. Okay, that's not unusual. Emergency contacts or whatever. Second, the therapist was calling me to check on her, which meant my ex had either stopped going to sessions or gone silent on her therapist. That concerned me, genuinely. Whatever she did to me, I don't want her in a crisis. Third, and this is the part that became relevant later, the therapist said, "She's asked me to reach out to you." Meaning my ex specifically told her therapist to call me. I told the therapist, "We're no longer together. I can't speak to her current state. But if you're worried about her safety, her sister is probably the better contact." The therapist thanked me and hung up. I sat with that for a while. It bothered me. Not the call itself, the choreography of it. My ex had asked her therapist to call me. She'd set that up. Why? She had my number. Her sister had my number. Her mom had my number. She didn't need a therapist to check if she was okay. She needed a therapist to make me wonder if she was okay. It was another play. Subtle. Almost invisible. But I'd spent 2 years learning the playbook, and I could see the formations now. She wanted me worried. She wanted me guilty. She wanted the guy who packed her boxes to lie awake thinking, what if she's not okay? Because that's the crack in the wall she could work with. One crack of guilt, and she's back in the apartment with wine and a cooking show and a new excuse for why going through my phone was actually an act of love. Not happening. But here's what had happened, and this is the part that made everything click. My best friend, the one who showed up at my job, had been doing some thinking since I told him the full story. And he asked me something that completely changed my perspective. Has she done this before? Not just with you. With anyone. I didn't know. So I did something I probably should have done earlier. I called her ex before me. Yeah, her ex-boyfriend. The one she dated for a year and a half before we got together. We'd met once, briefly, at a mutual friend's party about a year ago. He seemed like a normal dude. Quiet. Kind of tired looking. I tracked him down through a mutual contact and called him. I told him I wasn't trying to be weird, just try to understand a pattern. His response, she isolated you from your friends? Yeah. Did she start by just making little comments? Like your friends were immature, or a bad influence, or taking up too much of your time? Exactly that. And then she started going through your phone? She blocked 4 numbers and deleted the message threads. He went quiet for a second. Then, she didn't block anyone on my phone, but she would delete texts from my friends and then tell me they never wrote. I'd text them and wonder why they weren't responding, not knowing she'd deleted their replies. I thought my friends were ghosting me. It took me months to figure out what was happening. Different method. Same playbook. He said by the time he caught on, he'd lost 2 close friendships entirely. Not because his friends stopped caring, but because he'd become distant, confused, isolated, second-guessing why nobody seemed to want to talk to him. When he finally confronted her, she told him the same line she told me. I did it for your own good. For your own good. The same words. Verbatim. He also told me something else. He said she'd used a therapist on him too. Different therapist back then, but the same move, going quiet, having the therapist reach out, creating a concern cycle where the ex-boyfriend felt responsible for her emotional state even after the breakup. He'd gone back to her for 2 months because of it before finally cutting things off for good. I thanked him. He said, I'm glad you figured it out faster than I did. Now, here's what I did with all of this. And I want to be clear, I didn't do anything dramatic. I didn't go on a scorched earth campaign, but I did protect myself and the people around me methodically and permanently. Step 1. I drafted a clear, calm, detailed written account of everything that happened. Timeline, dates, what she did, how I found out, the conversation, the breakup, the doorbell footage incident, the therapist call, the confirmation from her ex. I printed 2 copies. One went in my filing cabinet. One went to my best friend in a sealed envelope with the instruction, open this if she ever claims I did something to her. Because after seeing how she operated, the rewriting of history, the surveillance accusation, the leveraging of mental health professionals, I knew the next play could be something that puts me on defense. And I wanted documentation that predated any potential accusation. Step 2. I sent a brief, polite email to the therapist. Not about my ex's treatment. I have no interest in that, and it's none of my business. I simply said, I want to inform you that I am no longer in a relationship with your client, and I do not wish to be contacted regarding her well-being. Please remove my number from any records. If she is in crisis, her family contacts are her sister and her mother. Professional. Boundaried. Done. Step 3, and this is the one that mattered most. I called each of my 4 friends individually. Not a group call, not a text. I called each one of them, one at a time, and I apologized. Not for the breakup, not for her, for the months before I caught the blocking, when I was pulling back from them voluntarily. The skipped Thursdays, the silenced group chat, the slow fade that I thought was compromise, but was actually the early stages of isolation. I apologized for letting someone convince me, even gradually, that the people who'd been in my corner for 15 years were somehow the problem. My best friend said, you don't need to apologize. We're good. We've always been good. But yeah, don't do that again. Fair. One more thing. Her sister called me one final time. Left a voicemail. This is roughly what she said. You are a deeply selfish person. My sister gave you everything, and you threw her away because your little buddies are more important. She's devastated. She can barely eat. I hope you're happy with your wings and your fantasy football, because that's all you're going to have. I saved that voicemail, added it to the file, not because I think I'll need it, But because every time I start to doubt myself, every time I start to think maybe I was too harsh, I can listen to it and remember exactly what these people think a healthy relationship looks like. One where you have no friends, no privacy, and no autonomy, and you should be grateful for it. Update 3. Final, 2 weeks later. Last one. Promise. The dust has mostly settled, but the last 2 weeks had a few final chapters. First, the therapist situation resolved itself. After I sent that email requesting no contact, the therapist responded professionally, acknowledged my request, confirmed my number was removed, end of story. Clean. But about a week later, my ex texted me, "I can't believe you emailed my therapist. That's a violation of MY privacy." I didn't respond. But let me just address this for the audience. She told her therapist to call me. She gave the therapist my number. She orchestrated a wellness check designed to keep me emotionally tethered. And when I drew a boundary with the therapist, politely, in writing, I'm the one violating her privacy. The logic is a pretzel. A burnt, unsalted pretzel. Second, the mutual friend network sorted itself out naturally over the past 2 weeks. Her version of events made the rounds. My single, factual correction to the book club woman also made the rounds. And what happened is what usually happens when two stories compete. People compared notes. A few of her own friends started asking questions she didn't want to answer. I know this because a woman I'd never met DM'd me on Instagram and said, "Hey, I'm friends with your ex. She told us you kicked her out for no reason." But another friend said there was a phone thing. I don't want to pry, but she's been acting erratic in our group chat, and some of us are worried. I didn't give her the full story. I just said, I'd encourage you to ask her directly about what happened with my phone contacts. The full truth matters, and she should be the one to tell it. That was it. No screenshots. No expose. Just a redirect back to the source. From what I heard through the grapevine after that, at least 2 people in her friend group did ask her directly, and she didn't handle it well. Apparently, she told one of them to mind her own business and told another that everyone was ganging up on her. When people ask a simple question and you respond with hostility, it tells them everything the answer would have. Third, and this was unexpected, my ex's mom reached out to me. Not to yell, not to lecture. She sent me a text that said, "I heard some of what happened. I don't know all the details, and it's not my place to get involved. But I want you to know I think you're a good person. I'm sorry it didn't work out. I appreciated that more than I expected to." I told her I respected her daughter and hoped things would get better for everyone. I'm in it. I don't hate my ex. I genuinely don't. But I can acknowledge someone has a serious pattern of harmful behavior and still wish them well from a very, very far distance. Her sister, on the other hand, never came around. She sent me one final text about a week ago. "You ruined her. I hope that sits with you." It doesn't. Not even a little. You know what to sit with me? The 3 weeks I spent wondering why my best friend had gone quiet. The confusion. The self-doubt. The way I started to believe maybe I was too dependent on my friends. Maybe something was wrong with me for wanting to see them every week. That sits with me. The slow poison of having someone you love systematically dismantle your support system and then tell you it's medicine. That sits with me. Now here's where I am. Thursday nights are back. Last week we did wings at my buddy's place. His wife made potato salad. We argued about whether the Bears are going to be trash again this year. They will be, but hope is a requirement. I got home at 11:30 p.m., sat on my couch in my quiet apartment, and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Normal. Just normal. I'm not going to pretend I'm fully healed or whatever. Some nights, I still reach for my phone, expecting a text from her. Some mornings the apartment feels too still. I've caught myself rehearsing arguments with her in the shower, which if you've never done that, congratulations, you've never dated someone who made you doubt your own reality. I went back through my phone after the breakup and tried to recover the deleted message threads. Couldn't get most of them. Years of conversations, inside jokes, late-night support, stupid memes, real talks during real hard times. All wiped. My best friend and I have started rebuilding the thread from scratch. First message he sent after I unblocked him. "Welcome back to civilization." Second message. A meme about a raccoon eating a burrito. "We're off to a strong start. My friend group hasn't treated me any differently. They didn't do the "I told you so" thing. They didn't roast me for getting played. They just absorbed me back in, like I never left. That's what 15 years buys you. Not perfection, just permanence. The knowledge that you can disappear for 3 weeks, and when you come back, your seat is still warm. I keep the written account in my filing cabinet. Haven't needed it. Probably never will. But it's there. A paper trail against a potential rewrite. Because if I learned one thing from this relationship, it's that some people don't just want to control the present. They want to control the story of it afterward. And the best defense against someone rewriting your history is having it written down first. For anyone reading this who's in a relationship where your partner is slowly cutting you off from the people who care about you, pay attention. It doesn't start with blocked numbers. It starts with comments. Little ones. They're immature. They're a bad influence. You act different around them. It's a drip, not a flood. And by the time you notice the water, you're already in deep. Your friends aren't the problem. The person telling you they're the problem is the problem. Thursday wings forever.